evening, afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark.
And I'm Zil, and we are the Board Adventurers. And we are coming at you with a new Late to the Game review. This time we are reviewing the Flippin' Right game, Welcome to Your New Favorite Home. It is designed by Mr. Benoit Turpin and published by Deepwater Games and Blue Cocker. So, in Welcome to Your New Favorite Home, it's a Flippin' Right game in which there are three decks. On one side of the deck is going to be a set of numbers, which signifies the house number, and on the other side is an effect, right? So when you're flipping over the deck to show the effect and the house number, and you're going to be writing down the house number in one of these three rows, right? And the three rows, it starts from left to right, but you can write it down in any house on that row. And the numbers stem from 1 to 15, but you can't go higher than 15, can't go below 1, and it has to be in sequential order. So if you write down on the left top house here, 5, this can't be 4. The house next to it can't be 4. It has to be 6 onward. But if you write down 7, you can't put 6 in between there because there's no house there. It has to just keep going in that sequential order. So there are 6 effects in the game, and they each do different things in terms of how you put your houses, how you set up your houses on your board. So there's the real estate, which increases the value of any real estate size. So it kind of almost like increases the amount of points that you can get. There's the fence that kind of fences in your houses, which impacts the amount of points you get from those sets of houses.
Right, because they end up like pairing, right?
They end up pairing, yes.
Or like parsing it, depending on how you cut it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the landscaping. On your board, you'll notice that on the top right of each street, there are a set of numbers. Once you choose the landscaper ability, you can cross off those numbers, and that gives you more points as well. There's the pool. It lets you build a pool on a lot that has a pool. You'll notice that on some houses has a pool or not. You can build your number on that house that has a pool. That also gives you points. There's a temp agency that just looks like a cross guard there, and it lets you add or subtract from 0 to 2 the number that you get.
I see.
Yep. And then there's the business one, which allows you to duplicate any house, not just the house that you just built. So the business one, say for instance, you roll a 15, right? And you already have a 15 built on one of your streets.
Right.
The business one allows you to build another 15 in
adjacent
that row.
to it. Right.
Adjacent to it. Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
Right. So how the game works is like there's 3 decks. And you flip it over, it shows, again, like I said before, the house number and the effect. And all the players that are playing can choose which row they want to choose. And they write it down in their lot.
Right.
And using the effect, writing down your numbers, and it keeps going until a player builds all of their houses. A player completes all of their city plans, which I didn't explain before, but a city plan, there are 3 city plans in the game.
Right.
And that kind of gives you extra points, but there are building requirements for those.
Right.
Or another end game is when a player takes 3 building permit refusals. So the business permit is when you could duplicate a number.
I see.
There's a limit to how many times you could do it. Once
Makes
you
sense.
hit the 3rd one, that's end game.
I see.
All right. And that's how you play Welcome to Your New Favorite Home. Hopefully I didn't butcher that explanation. But that's the explanation of the game.
Nice.
So what are your thoughts on the game?
Welcome to, I think, for me, was my very first introduction to this flippin' right kind of mechanic.
Yeah.
And it has an interesting like mechanic for it. It's like the cards are 2-sided, so you're gonna get the number of the house that you need to write down, and then on the other side you get the effect. So a lot of times it's like pairing up, like, okay, well, I know I need the 15 at one of the two ends, if possible. So when I see a 15, I'm more tempted to take it. And then sometimes like I'll place it depending on what I need. Like if I need this pool in this location, but I need a 4.
Yeah.
So when I see like a pool get flipped over, I might be more tempted to take it if it's like a 4, 5, or 6.
Yeah.
So it has like some interesting thought process to it. And typically like, yeah, it feels like as the longer that I play this game, like the more times that I've played it, there seems to be more of like a very general path that you should be taking for it.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
And they try to mitigate that a little bit. So the favorite part about this game for me is kind of the choices that you have, right?
Yeah.
So you have to choose in the row. You have to choose a row and you have to take the effect and the house number.
Right.
And sometimes it will be a house number that you shouldn't take, but it's effect that you really need, or vice versa. And that could be all of your options. You have to make a choice.
Yeah.
It's kind of simple. When explaining the rule, you kind of go from like 1 to 15 in each row, right?
Right.
And in sequential order, you might think like, oh, well, I'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in each row.
Right.
That's almost impossible in this game. You can't do that. You have to make kind of tough choices in terms of like, I really shouldn't take that 6 because it's going to mess up my houses, but I really need to take this effect to do something to maximize my points.
Right.
And then you kind of have to make those choices. But you are right. The more that you play the game, there are certain effects that you
typically go for.
You need to go for,
Yeah.
and some effects that you can ignore.
Yeah,
to
for the
later
most
in.
part.
Yeah, that is a con in the
Yeah,
game.
like I think the more I've played it, the more I realized the fencing and the real estate agent have become like pretty major like parts, because you want to parse that, like you have like a plot of like a block that's like what 10 to 12 long.
Yeah,
If you can parse that out to 5, 6, or even 4, and then get your real estate agent to increase the price per house that you do per lot of 4,
yeah,
like that's more points than say if you get some of the other ones.
yeah. Like the landscaping one is not that.
Yeah, because it's just
That's
like
the
a
least-
flat, right?
it's a
flat number that you
flat
get.
number
yeah.
that you get. With the real estate and the fencing, like you mentioned before, it's just multiplying.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
sometimes
more
you want
points.
that multiplier.
Yeah, you
because
need
like you
multiplier.
want to be able to maximize the amount of homes you have in your neighborhood
Yeah.
that you have.
Like if you ask me, not to spoil what I think, what I'm going to vote for the game, because if you ask me after the second or third playthrough of this game, it would have been a must buy. But now it would be just kind of a play because of what you said. It's kind of like the more you play it, the more you realize like there's certain effects that I shouldn't be going for, and these are the two main effects that I need.
Yeah.
But if everyone's playing the game that way, the game becomes less interesting.
Right. It's like less people are taking kind of risks because they'll know like what are the optimal choices they should be
Yeah,
making.
in the first playthrough, some people are going to be taking landscaping or the pools.
Right.
I'm focusing on those while everyone else is focusing on other things, and it's more interesting. It's like, oh, how many points did you end up getting to? What
Right.
kind of thing? Like, how did you maximize what was available to you?
Yeah.
But now after the 6, 7 playthroughs, kind of like we're all going for real estate and fencing.
Yeah, it seems like that way.
Yeah. So kind of it dings the game a little bit for
a little bit, yeah, and it makes like the other choices like less, palatable whenever you see them. It's like I will only really take like some of these actions if it's the last action that I need to take.
Yeah.
Right.
No, 100%. So in terms of kind of like the flip and right genre, and you mentioned that this was kind of the first flip and right game that you played.
Yeah.
How did that? I'm assuming you played more flip and right games since then.
Yeah.
Would you rank this high amongst those flip and right games? Or,
I honestly don't think I would. Now, like when I first played it, I thought it was a very creative idea, and I wanted to try it more. But I think as I played more and more of it, I realized maybe this type of flip and right isn't my type of game, because it started to become very mechanical. It felt like when cards were coming out, I wasn't thinking like, what risks can I take with these cards? It became that is my optimal choice. I need to take that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, and then along with like those other cards, those like contractor cards, like those cards come in like what were they do?
They
Like those cards over there.
what
Yeah.
the temp? What this one?
Yeah, I think there was
floor
like
plan.
yeah there's so there comes with like floor plan cards, but those are really, you get those by doing the same thing with the real estate agent and the fencing. You need to create these little neighborhoods of 2s and 3s and 4s.
Five, yeah.
So that's kind of like leads into why it's more optimal than say some of the other ones.
Yeah, there's a way. Yeah, I agree with you in terms of that. It's kind of like, so when we're looking at this game came out some time ago at the beginning of the kind of like the flip and right craze, and you can kind of tell it's still pretty popular, but you can kind of tell this is an early flip and right game.
Yeah, I can see where like this gets like a lot of flip and rights nowadays are going to get the influence from it. And like it's a very it's a simple mechanic.
It's clever. It's a cheaper game. It's pretty cheap. It's clever.
Yeah.
It's definitely kind of like this is my first flip and right game that I played as well, but it definitely was like, I played it and was like, okay, I want to play more flip and rights.
Right.
I think a lot of people had that mindset after.
And there is like that, there's a new version now that came out more recently called Welcome to the Moon that's been getting more buzz. And people are saying it is better. So we're going to eventually check it out at some point because we do have it.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely let you guys know once we've played it.
Yeah. So another question I do have for you in regards to this game is, we both agree that it's a game that gets less interesting with more playthroughs. But do you think this is a game that it would be fun for you to introduce this to people?
Yeah, see, that's where it gets a little complicated, because if I was to think of some sort of introductory flip and right game, this might be the game that I might go to. Like it introduces you to the mechanic, but maybe my worry is that if they're not excited about that first playthrough because maybe they figure it out like really quickly, then it might become like I might be turned off to every flip and right. So,
we did play with one person who the first playthrough was like, oh, I'm supposed to do this. And it was just kind of like, well, this game is over.
Yeah, it felt, that one playthrough just felt very like by the numbers. It felt like we were just like, this gives me this amount of points. This gives me points.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh, I need the pool. The pool is going to give me the factor, but like, like I have, I want to play the pool, possibly or like, I'm going to fence off these 4, as a contractor. You don't really get that feeling when you're playing this game. It's just like, I need this points, so I need to parse these into sections. Yeah. And then I need to cross off a tree. Tree gives me like 5 points.
Yeah.
So.
No, I hear you. So in terms of buy, play, or pass entirely, where is this for you?
This is a play leaning on the pass edge for me. I think in terms of an introductory flip and right, this would be maybe one of my top 3 choices, possibly. But mostly because other flip and rights that I've played are just very complicated.
Yeah, that's true. I think the genre has just gotten more complicated.
I don't know if I really like that for flip and rights or roll and rights.
The simplicity of this.
But this simplifies a lot of actions to just one board, and the choices are very simple, where it's palatable to someone that's new to the mechanic of it. But I think after time, you're going to they give you a whole stack of sheets. We went through maybe because we played 16 sheets because we played 4 players. Yeah. So it got a little old as time went by. So just know that if it's something that you really like, it might be a considered a little higher for you. But for me, this is on that edge.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. This is really teetering. One day I could be a pass, one day I could be a play. Yeah, and it's the same kind of thing. This game gets old really, really, really fast. Yeah, the first playthrough, we really enjoyed this game. I did too. And then, like we said throughout the review, you kind of realize there are certain things you should be focusing on, and it's one of those games where it's kind of like everyone's doing the same thing. And part of the fun of the first playthrough is everyone was trying completely different things. There's so many
we ended up with a lot of different ending points,
different permutations of what everyone's doing. Yeah, and after every playthrough was kind of like, oh, okay. After one playthrough, it was like, okay, the landscaper sucks. No one's going for the landscaper anymore.
Right,
and
right.
then no
It's
one's
you
going to the
pass that, yeah.
pool.
Yeah.
And then you're ignoring effects, so everyone's doing the exact same thing, choosing the exact same numbers, and it
Right.
becomes less interesting.
Yeah, that's very
So
true.
this is definitely a play, really teetering on pass.
Right.
Like after another playthrough, I probably would completely pass this game altogether.
Yeah, like I wouldn't like just entirely pass something unless it was just that bad.
But this is
But this is like
close.
Yeah, this is I'm starting to get like a little slightly tired of it. Like I'll play it if there was nothing else to play.
Yeah. No, I agree there.
You know?
So that's where we are with Welcome to.
Yeah.
We'll see you on the next one.
Right.